welcome everybody to the Paranormal Portal. I'm your host, Brent Thomas, and we are live and underway here right now. Hope you're having a great day. It's Thursday, so that's always moving just a little bit closer to the fabled Friday and the weekend that we so love and adore. So I hope your Thursday is going good. It's been a good day here. I have no complaints, so I guess that's always good. Nothing really to share, nothing really extraordinarily amazing. Anything happened today? Nothing really. Just busy, I guess. Just was a kind of a busybody day. But had a good time with the minion, and he got to play with a friend today, so that was always awesome. But yeah, we're underway, ladies and gentlemen. This is our Thursday Night Terrors show. If you're not familiar with the show or you're kind of new to it, the Night Terrors are shorter format paranormal portals, and they are roughly an hour long, and we generally discuss ghostly encounters on these stories, or on these shows where, we cover people having encounters with ghostly spirits and other ethereal bodies, as it were. But I like doing these shows. These are a quicker version of the portal, but I just like every chance I can to connect with you guys, and I hope you guys enjoy these shows because they are a lot of fun. And I guess of all of the paranormal phenomena out there, I think ghosts are probably the most universally acknowledged type of phenomena. I think everybody is either has had or knows someone who has had a ghostly encounter, and I've had more than I can count. I'll forget far more than I'll ever remember of things that have happened, spiritually around me. And it's to each his own whether you believe in that kind of stuff or not, but it's definitely a part of the world of the paranormal, and you can't really ignore it because it's kind of everywhere. In fact, you turn on TV and it's hard not to find a paranormal show anymore that deals with ghost hunting or ghost researching or investigating. And, it's definitely part of our national consciousness now more than ever, much like Bigfoot, much like UFOs. So, I think it's a fun topic to discuss and to explore, and I like doing it. So I hope you'll enjoy it and being a part of it. Of course, if you want to be more a part of tonight's show, you can certainly do so by calling in. The number for the show is 720-923-0500. Again, 720-923-0500. Those are the numbers for fun right here on the Paranormal Portal. And if you, during the course of the show, decide, hey, I want to call in, I remember this one story. What's the number again? Well, it's right here on your screen. So you can see it right up there. It's not the boldest of fonts. It's almost microfiche, but it's there. And the number is there for your reference if you should like to call in at some point and share your experiences with us. So without further ado, I hope you all are ready because it's time for bed. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is it. I am now officially underway here on the Paranormal Portal Night Terrors Ghostly Encounters episode number 88. If you can believe that. There's it's 87 other ones of these Night Terrors. And then before that, there's probably hundreds of the bedtime stories from beyond. It's kind of a goofy story, but I renamed them because of all of the children stuff. And is it, I don't know. There was such a controversy on YouTube with naming things or showing anything that might be related to children or appealing to children and the liabilities of that. So I just changed the name from Bedtime Stories from Beyond to the Night Terrors. So that's what did it. But both Bedtime Stories from Beyond and Night Terrors are basically the same shows. They're just a little different titles. So I got a bunch of stories pulled up for you. Well, I got one pulled up for you right now, and then we'll pull up a whole bunch more. But the one I got pulled up for you, first of all, is coming from the state of New York, right here in the USA, and this has to do with haunted places. So let's see what's going on in New York, haunted places. It says it was the summer of 1992, about a year after my first paranormal experience. I was dating my girlfriend, and eventually, I already read this one. I already read it. Never mind. I don't have one pulled up at all. I'm going to pull up a whole bunch more. I remember that first line completely. Oh God, I hate when I do that. It's funny because I even get letters from listeners. It's like, yeah, we think it's really funny when you almost read the same stories again, and that should give you an idea how often that happens. But I probably need an assistant, is what I'm thinking, just to help me line up my life and organize my life a little better. But at least I own it, and I own it, and I laugh about it, and I hope you're laughing with me out there. If you're not, then I do apologize. But I'm doing the best I know how. So anyway, let's go to the next story, which is also from New York, oddly enough. But it has to do with ghost hunting. I just want to glance at these because sometimes these submitted stories from paranormal researchers are more like log books. But this one doesn't look like it is. This one looks like a regular narrative. So I guess we'll go with it and we'll read it. And so again, from New York, it says, I have an interesting story. The little boy seen at the bottom of the stairs in my first story was subsequently seen other times in our home by my husband, Carl, and my younger daughter, Karen. So obviously this person's already shared a story in whatever archives we've dug up here. But my apologies. I don't know the first story that they shared. I can't give you any setup to what it is they're sharing. But at least we can take it from where this story starts. Karen is a sensitive, this is her daughter, who sees spirits on a daily basis, which includes her twin brother, Cade. This may be part of the reason why she's so connected with the spirit world. My husband, Carl, is more sensitive than I am, but not as sensitive as Karen. My older daughter, Alice, is very much a skeptic who has some paranormal experiences, but not nearly as many as Karen. Alice keeps us grounded whenever we go ghost hunting at other locations. And these are stories for another time. But anyway, one evening last summer, the four of us gathered as a family in the family room in our basement to communicate with Cade. We call this our family circle. Carl was seated on a love seat which faced our open laundry room door. I began to notice that Carl was glancing curiously in the laundry room from time to time. The laundry room and the storage room rather beyond it appear to be the epicenter of paranormal activity in our home. At first, Carl didn't say why until he finally told us that he'd been seeing a spirit in the darkness of that room. The spirit had finally been curious enough to move forward into the partial light at the door, and Carl was able to see that it was the same little boy he had seen on the stairs. Karen could see him too, confirming that what Carl was experiencing. My spirit son, Cade, told us through his telepathic link to his twin, Karen, that the little boy's name was Jordan. Jordan was 4 years old and had died in 1885. Jordan was shy, and that's why he wouldn't join us in the family room. Also, it broke my mommy's heartstrings, my mommy heartstrings, when I learned through Cade and Karen that Jordan was searching for his mommy and daddy. Poor little Jordan had been searching for so long. I spoke quietly to Jordan and invited him to join us in the family room. I reassured him that we were just talking together as a family and we would welcome his company. Even with all the encouragement, he hesitated near the door and wouldn't come out. I told Jordan I knew he was looking for his mom and dad and wanted to be with them again. I told him that if he sees a bright light, the brightest light ever, and goes into that light, he would find his parents. Carl and Karen said Jordan disappeared soon after. A few months later, with no further contact with Jordan, Karen, Alice, and I found us in the family room with two of their very close friends. Once again, communicating with our Cade, Karen told us that Cade was sitting on the floor near the door of the main floor, petting our dog Misha, M-E-I-S-H-A, Misha, I don't know. Alice had to go to the bathroom and open the same door to go up to the bathroom, closing it shut after her. Karen told us that Alice had walked through Cade, and I looked over to that spot with a moment of melancholy, wishing that I too could see my own son. And I was feeling sad about it, but wasn't ready for the hugely overwhelming feeling of sadness I felt. So much sadness that I was fighting the tears, trying hard not to sob uncontrollably. I turned back to the 3 teen girls and saw that they had odd expressions on their faces. And suddenly I felt like crying. I had difficulty explaining, so do we, they all said. And we all began weeping. And when I was finally able to talk a few minutes later, I said, I don't know why this is happening. Why we all feel like crying. And Karen came over to sit beside me and put her hand on my knee. Mom, she said, Cade told me that Jordan just crossed over. Jordan was finally with his mom and dad. That's a beautiful story. I can't understand that part so much because I guess you'd have to be someone that can really communicate with the spirits actively to really understand that whole narrative. I think it's a beautiful story if that's really the case. I don't know why his mom and dad didn't come and get him. I don't understand that part, I guess. That's a conundrum to me. Because if there's a little boy, I mean, if you're the mother and father and you had passed on, but you knew that your little child wasn't there, and wouldn't you have gone and retrieved that child? See, that's the stuff I kind of get stuck on. I don't understand that. I don't know what to think about that. But anyway, cool story, but we do have a phone call here, so let's get to the phone and find out just what's going on here. And this is coming from area code 518. You're on the air.
Hey, how are you tonight, Brent?
I'm doing good. How are you? Who am I talking to?
That's great to hear. This is Adam from the Blue Line Bigfoot, bud.
Oh, hey, brother. I'm doing good, man. How you doing up there?
We're doing really good, changing seasons and doing good and having fun together up here. Listen, I just wanted to talk to you quickly. I heard through the grapevine, through the wonderful family that we have here on YouTube, in one way or another, that you may be having a special guest coming on. And I just wanted to find out more about it and see if it was true.
I don't know. Which special guest are you talking about? There's always several in the pipes.
Mr. Vic Cundiff.
Yeah, I haven't got
the one and only Vic Cundiff.
Yep, I haven't got a date nailed down with him yet, but he said he'd love to come on the show. So it's all green lighted except for the scheduling. So I don't know exactly when that's going to happen, but yeah, he said he'd love to come on the show. I was on his show with the Irish Bigfoot Research Organization, so I had a great time with them, and that was my first opportunity meeting Vic, other than Facebook, where we've thrown messages back and forth once in a great while. But yeah, he's a real nice guy. And I'm really excited to have him on the show, brother.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. I mean, I'm really excited about it. I can't wait. I heard about it, and it got me really pumped because he's definitely one of the faves out there, one of the best. So
yeah,
I'm looking forward to the show.
I appreciate that, brother. And I will certainly make sure everybody knows when we get that sorted out, when that's going to happen. But yeah, I'm excited for it too. It should be a good time, and it'll be a great opportunity to discuss two, very, very incredible cryptids, in which, with the Bigfoot, he does both shows, Bigfoot and the Dogman. So it'll be great to just see what he's got to say, brother. I mean, I've got a ton of questions about all of that, and I think that it's going to be a compelling night for sure.
I'm sure it'll shed some light on a bunch of different perspectives maybe that Vic has that we don't get to hear normally, because he's always talking with the people that are the eyewitnesses.
Yeah.
So to me it's extremely. I mean, you don't hear these shows. I've never really heard one where Vic is in a really compelling interview. Maybe they're out there, but I haven't heard one yet. So I'm excited that he's going to be on your show, especially your show, because you're so loose and you just make people feel comfortable, and it's going to be great. I can't wait. And hey, when you find out when it is, I can't wait. I can't wait to find out and get on there and watch it.
Yeah, I'll definitely clue you in, brother, as soon as I know, and I'll let everybody know too. It's one I'm excited to schedule, but I haven't heard back from him yet on a date or when he's available. But it's just nice that he's willing to come on, and I know he does interviews, so it's not unheard of course. But it's just cool that he's going to come on and be a part of our experience. So that'll be great. Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
I can't wait. I appreciate you and all you do, and you and both you and Don, you guys are awesome. Keep up the good work, and we'll be checking you out here on the interwebs.
All right, brother. Thank you, and I'll be in touch.
Okay, everybody out there, don't forget to hit that blue thumbs up button. Come on, let's do it. Later.
All right, see you now. That's cool. That's really cool. That's Adam, of course, a Blue Line Bigfoot, longtime friend of the show. He and Jake have a channel on YouTube called the Blue Line Bigfoot. And great time. I was able to be on their show once, and we had a good time, and we had them on our show. And that was a lot of fun as well. But those guys get out there and they do their work too in the field. They do a lot of Bigfoot research and have been a part of the many shows, Bigfoot Odyssey as well, and other shows. And they just get out there and very, very, very cool guys. That's, sometimes you meet people just by happenstance, and they just turn out to be these incredible people. And Adam and Jake are those guys. I mean, they are just really cool, down to earth, fun, funny, and Jake does a killer Don. He does a killer Don Longbeard impression, but he calls him Long Don Beard. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, you got to check it out. I can't remember when we last aired it, but I'll try to figure it out. And we're talking about maybe doing another parathon this Halloween. So if we do, I'll make sure to show the Blue Line Bigfoot boys doing a Don Longbeard or Long Don Beard. It's good fun. Good fun. So, all right, let's continue on. That was that story. Let's see. I got to remember to close these before I start reading another one. Here's the next story, ladies and gentlemen. And this one is coming from Missouri. And it has to do with apparitions, voices, and touches. Or is it Missouri? How do they get the out of the E? I don't know. It's like Arkansas and Illinois and all these states that have these different pronunciations. Keeps us on our toes, but that's a regional pronunciation for Missouri. But, yeah. Here goes. This one has to do with apparitions, voices, and touches. First off, let me say that this has occurred in a couple of places, not just Missouri. What I'm telling you today, I've only told a handful of people due to scrutiny, but it is true. Everyone talks about guardian angels and how they help when you're in trouble, if you're sick, etc. And I just refer to mine as a guardian. Gives it more of a masculine feel, LOL. My first encounter with a guardian happened to me when my unit was deployed. Well, as a turret gunner in my Humvee, I was pretty exposed to the elements. With new versions that have the crown on the top to help prevent problems like I experienced, but at the time, all we had were the gunner shields. We're traveling down the MSR. I don't know what that means, but sounds like a road. And we had to slow way down due to the marchers on Ramadan. And both sides of the road were occupied with the marchers, so we went extra slow to make sure there were no incidents. Any veteran of the current Iraq conflict can probably relate to this type of experience. The area I was in was fairly safe, and we had a good rapport with the LNs and the sheikh of the area. But still, all of the marchers carrying flags and the singing all got a little distracting. As I was trying to keep an eye out for any problems, I caught something on my peripheral vision. It appeared to be an old man walking with a cane. He really wasn't dressed like everyone else. It was so brief, and I don't remember exactly what it was, but he was different. Well, I swung my turret around for a better look and heard an awful smack. I didn't realize at the moment what it was, but a broken half brick smacked into my gunner's shield. If I hadn't spun around to see the old man, the brick would have smashed me in the head. We didn't have to catch the guy. The marchers did that for us. Our interpreter told us he was a 13-year-old kid. He was detained, questioned, and later released, but it still scares me to this day. Number 2, I was on my way back from a month-long school. I was about a 22-hour drive home, and I decided to try to make it in one trip. Flame that if you want. I don't care. Anyway, I was on the interstate when it was pretty much alone. I hadn't seen another car in quite a while. So I say alone. In my rearview mirror, I saw a set of headlights coming up behind me. No big deal. I was actually going about 5 or 10 miles under the speed limit, so I can safely assume that a driver would overtake me pretty quickly. Well, the driver got closer, then farther, closer, and then farther. And I don't know if they were intoxicated or tired or what, but it weirded me out a little. Well, finally, the driver pulled up beside me and stayed there for a bit and then began to speed up. And again, out of the corner of my eye, I saw what appeared to be the old man again, flagging me down. Well, I turned my head to follow him and applied the brakes. As I applied the brakes, the car that was next to me zipped into my lane. I'll bet he didn't miss the front end of my vehicle by more than a few inches. Well, I finally pulled over and tried to find the old man, but he was nowhere to be found. No vehicles off the road, nothing. No responses to my call. I got back in my vehicle and finished my journey home. Regardless, I don't know if there was someone or thing there looking out for me. The weird part is I don't remember anything like this as a kid. It just seems to have happened in my adulthood. But nothing has happened for about 3 years since, but I figured something like that would have followed me as a child. I think the takeaway of that is that maybe it never had to appear before, you know? Like there wasn't a danger, but in these two incidences, there was, I mean, it could have killed him. A brick to the head can kill you. And certainly having some drunk swerve into your lane can kill you. So maybe those were the two instances where it had to manifest. It had to appear to get him to do something or to make a change in his circumstances so that he wouldn't get hurt. I mean, what an incredible serendipity, you know? And so I'm sure it's always been with him. I think we all have our guardian angels or angel or I don't know however many anyone gets, but you know, the idea is that maybe it appeared then because it had to. That was the only way to cause the situation to change. And what a neat experience, though. What a wonderfully cool experience. I love those really positive ones, the really positive stories I think are so powerful because we're used to the only paranormal stories we hear being spooky and weird and creepy and cold and dark. But then there's these bright lights that shine every once in a while and remind us that there's a lot of good out there too. There's good spirits that are looking out for us and presences, whatever you want to call them, spirits, presences, angels, guides, you know, guardians, whatever. I mean, it's the semantics really don't matter. The point is that we seem to be, at least, I think that most people experience some form of divine protection throughout the course of their lives, whether they know it or not. And maybe it doesn't always manifest. It doesn't always appear like an old man or like a winged being coming to your aid, but maybe things just work out just perfectly so that you're not dead or you're not severely wounded or injured or something. Like you hear those stories all the time. I don't know how it happened, but I would flip my bike over and it looked like I was going to land on my head. And then somehow I flipped around again and landed on my tires. Well, maybe it's in that somehow, that one weird moment where everything just kind of went sideways and straightened out. Maybe those are our guardian interventions, you know, our divine interventions. So, and I'd love to think that everybody has that. And maybe we do, maybe we don't. I don't know. But there's also those people that seem to have all kinds of terrible stuff happen to them. So it seems like they get plagued by something rather than protected. And I don't know how that works. I don't know. Again, be a great Portal drinking game. The I don't know. How many times do I say I don't know? Hell, I say it all the time because I don't know and nobody knows, but we all have ideas. All right, next story. Coming right up, ladies and gentlemen. Fresh from the Portal ovens. There's no more calls. Okay, this one is coming from West Virginia. Has to do with family and friends visits. Well, so far tonight, we're on a real positive streak of stories, and I like this. I think it's wonderful. It says this actually happened to my daughter and her cousin. We're all at the funeral home. My dad had died of a brain aneurysm a couple of days earlier. My daughter and her cousin were sitting out on the swing on the front porch of the funeral home, and they were just sitting there talking when they looked over at the front porch steps, and sitting there was my dad smoking a cigarette with his legs crossed, swinging his foot like he'd always done, and he looked over at them, smiled, and then disappeared. That's cool. They came inside and where we were sitting and told us what had just happened. We were really surprised to hear what they had to say. When everyone was standing at the gravesite, I looked over towards the trees, and standing there was my dad, holding my baby brother who had died at birth. I don't think anyone else saw him, even though my sisters and I have talked about it. They said that they hadn't seen anything. That same night, my sister said she woke up. She was in a different room, not her bedroom, and she said it was totally dark except there was a bright light shining down on a casket. Every detail of the casket was visual. She said Dad sat up in the casket and opened his eyes and said he was fine now. Well, since that happened, we're all okay with him being gone. Even though we love him and we miss him dearly, however, this wasn't the last time that we had seen his ghost. There's more to come later. Well, that's fantastic. Really cool story. I think that's the coolest transition ever is when the people that are left behind with their hearts broken, when they're able to get a glimpse, just that glimpse, that one moment of seeing the person they love and seeing them okay. God, that's so healing. That's so powerful and it's so healing. And how much does that help the grieving process? I don't know why that doesn't happen more. And maybe we're all not receptive to it in the same way. And maybe that's why some people get these visitations and the rest of us don't. You know, we just get feelings and maybe you feel like that person's home or right there with you, or you catch a smell that reminds you of them and you wonder, is that them? Are they with me? But these kind of moments are so powerful, so amazing. And I think it should happen to everybody that's grieving a loss, because it's one thing to have that loss and just, it's a loss. It's just an empty, it's a question mark. We don't really understand what happens. We have our beliefs, we have our ideas, but it's still the great unknown, right? But if you were visited by that person, if you could see them and just get a smile and just know that they're okay, that makes that experience so much more beautiful. Like it's just a transition. It's a change. And I think we mostly know that. It's just still, it's hard. It's hard not to be selfish when you're suffering a loss of someone you love so dearly. It's hard not to be selfish. I mean, you know, the fact that those people are gone is so hard to fathom. How does life continue without that light, you know? And so it puts us all in a weird place, in a really painful place. But when they are able to come through and when they are able to give us that one sign, that one moment, that one reinforcement, that is so, so powerful. I just wish that everybody that was missing someone they loved would have that moment, because then it's just a matter of time. Then we know that we'll be there with them again. And I think that's cool, but I don't know. Again, I don't know. All right, here we go. Next story, ladies and gentlemen. This one's coming from California. Has to do with haunted places. How long is this one? Not too bad. Let's see. It says, what? I got to look at this. Okay. All right, I just tried to read it a little bit ahead because there's some words here. I was like, what? All right, I think I got it. It says, I read a few years ago on a website that a worker at Sarducci's thought the train car attached to the restaurant was haunted. I don't remember the website and I can't find it. My mom and 2 young sons and I had lunch at the Vintage Steakhouse this past Tuesday, April 14th, 2009. This is an old story, so. The restaurant is inside the old train cars attached to the other restaurant, Sarducci's. Excuse me. When we were seated, I remember the story I read online and asked our waitress, is this true? That the train car was haunted? And she gave me a surprised look and said, yeah, that she sometimes opens the restaurant at 7 a.m. and hears weird noises. And that the area right behind us sometimes gets really cold. Of course, I thought she was just fueling my interest, and to make our visit to the restaurant more enjoyable, I just shrugged it off, and I took photos of the area that we were sitting in, admiring the old train cars and their decor. But behind us, and a bit to the right, there's a window that looks into an aisle and wine rack. I took photos of that area and the table that is next to the window, and I also took photos on my cell phone. We didn't hear any noises. However, when I went to the restroom just down the hall from our train compartment area where we were seated, I felt this really uncanny feeling that I was being followed and watched. I was alone in the bathroom and couldn't wait to get back out onto my table. We ate our lunch and we were on our way to tour Los Rios Street, located directly behind the restaurant, across from the Amtrak train tracks. We spoke with a garden shop owner about if the area was haunted, and she told us about a ghost tour that they have in October and of the White Lady Ghost. I thought it was really interesting. When we get home later, I uploaded my photos off my memory card. I was looking at a particular photo, not expecting to find anything, but something so eerie popped out at me. I was completely shocked to find the wine rack that was just outside our eating area in the train car restaurant. I was completely shocked to find a face in the wine rack that was just outside our eating area in the train car restaurant. The head had the white hair. My husband tweaked the contrast around and converted it to black and white, and you can clearly see the left side of her face, complete with eyes, nose, mouth, wrinkled cheekbone, and I am convinced that we have a ghost or a spirit in our photo. A few days later, I remember taking some photos with my cell phone, and in one of my photos, there is a blue ball of light in the area right behind us, next to the window looking into the wine rack. I've never had an orb in my photos before, just normal dust and booked, and I'm a professional photographer, by the way, so I look at thousands of photos and have never seen anything like this before. I thought I'd like to share my story. I was always a skeptic about ghosts and spirits, but since my visit this past Tuesday, I am skeptical no more. Now, unfortunately, there's no photo to go by here, so I can't show you that, which it seems a shame, because that would be really cool to see the image that they captured, but no such luck. Sorry. So sorry. All right, next up is from Minnesota, haunted places. There's my old stomping grounds, Minnesota. My grandparents live in an old gabled house built in the 1920s, apparently owned by a mine boss. The house has its share of oddities. My sister and I were hanging out in the basement when we noticed the classical music was coming from a coal shaft that led into the laundry room. We deduced that the shaft led to the living room, as we found a covered ash door in the bottom of an unused fireplace there. Deciding that the music had to have come from there, we tried to find a radio or CD player, and we didn't find anything. And we didn't hear anything once we went upstairs. And we remembered with a start that our parents and grandparents had driven to a nearby town to buy some gardening supplies. Of course, the music could have come from the neighbor's house, but we were still creeped out. After all, the walls of this old house are more than a foot thick, and you can't hear family members calling you if you're on different floors. We mentioned the music to our grandparents, who denied having experienced any paranormal activities. But then at Christmas time, the entire family stayed in that house. I was a little relieved that there'd be so many people staying there, because creepy old houses feel less threatening when they're full of happy people on winter break. My sister and I were pushed from room to room as more relatives arrived, and eventually we ended up sleeping on an old pull-out sofa in the den above the garage. Now, I had been totally scared of this room, which was in what once had been the servants' quarters, along with a musty-smelling red staircase and a maid's bedroom, when I was a toddler for reasons that I can't even remember. We volunteered to sleep with my aunt's dogs, who were two friendly, stinky pit bulls. And at 1 a.m., a few nights before Christmas, I woke for some reason unable to fall back asleep. Well, I got up to use the bathroom, which required walking past the maid's bedroom. Okay, this sounds really weird, but I'm 100% sure that I was not dreaming. There was a light on in the maid's room, and this was the only room that wasn't being occupied. As it was used by my grandparents as a storage room. They'd left the furniture in the bedroom and put a bunch of boxes on the bed and dresser and on the floor, and I knew there wasn't anybody in there, so I decided someone must have forgotten to switch off the light. I went to switch it off, but as I walked towards the door, it creaked open very slowly, and I heard the sound of extremely loud snoring. Now, there were quite a few toddlers sleeping in that house that night, so I assumed that some parent was trying to calm an infant in the unoccupied room and had simply fallen asleep there. Not wanting to disturb them, I went to the bathroom, and when I returned to bed, when I passed the room a second time, the snoring was even more evident. The next morning, I asked if anyone had slept in there the previous night, and every one of my many relatives denied it, and most were a bit weirded out by my story. I checked the maid's room, and sure enough, no boxes had been moved from the bed. Furthermore, the dust covered every surface was undisturbed. No one had pulled a prank at 1 a.m. to scare me or my sister. That had been my final mental resort, that some relative thinking to scare us had been pretending to snore in the room with the light on. Even weirder, the day after that, my cousin, a toddler at the time, and I were playing with trucks in the unfinished basement. Pointing at the walls, he said, "Look at all the people." He was very adamant about what he'd seen. "Why are those people looking at me?" he asked. My aunt, hearing this, picked him up and ran upstairs with him. Later, my grandmother told me that the house had been broken into close to the time of its construction. Apparently, the maid had been the only one home at the time of the attack, and she had grabbed a knife and hidden in the downstairs closet. No one was hurt and nothing was stolen, but the owner was extremely angry with her for allowing someone to break into the house. Yikes. I guess no one died in the incident, but the owner must have been a pretty nasty guy to have punished his maid for hiding. I wonder. Well, that's a creepy story. Those old houses have a lot of memories, I'm sure. Sometimes those memories can be events. Sometimes those events can be residual. And sometimes those residual events replay. There might be an intelligence as well. The snoring in the unoccupied room it's pretty intelligent, I would think, because it was when she moved towards the door, or he, I don't know if it's a he or she that was telling the story, but they moved towards the door, and the door actually, I don't know, said it opened a little bit or whatever. So I don't know. That's creepy. And then they heard the snoring. So it seems that something wanted to keep them out. Could the old maid still be lingering in those halls? I don't know. Hard to know, but that's creepy. Lots of creepy going on. That's the portal, though. The portal is a creepy place. The next story is coming from Florida. It's sleep paralysis. Yeah, all right, we'll read it. It's a short story, so let's see what's going on in Florida with sleep paralysis. I started reading up on sleep paralysis topic after an incident that happened to me this afternoon while I was sleeping. I just moved into my place a month or so ago. My roommate and I liked the place, and we had both separately experienced some strange occurrences. One afternoon I was home alone and I was taking a nap. I kept hearing something to the right of me. It sort of sounded like someone was pacing back and forth beside my bed. I opened my eyes and tried to get up, but couldn't. I felt tremendous pressure on my body. While I was struggling to move my body and look to my right to see if there was someone else in my room, the pacing stopped. I still felt like there was some kind of pressure or presence next to my bed, but I couldn't turn my head to look. I was terribly confused, and I felt completely awake, but somehow glued to my bed. The presence moved next to me, and I felt almost as if it was hugging me. Then it whispered, don't cry. It moved even closer to me. Not like it was trying to smother me, and I thought it was trying to kiss me on the cheek in a comforting gesture. I tried to speak, but it came out as a moan more so than words. Then it was just like everything evaporated. I got up, and I was so freaked out. That's a horrible feeling. I dealt with sleep paralysis for a long time. I had lots of spells of it over a period of about 2 years, I think. And it was horrid. It was absolutely horrid. It's very, very strange to be stuck and in your body, but you can't control it. It's very weird. Like just this force is just locking you. And in my case, it was almost like something was almost like pushing me out of consciousness, more than feeling a big weight or hands on me or anything like that. I just felt like I was being pushed away and kept from getting awake completely or getting up. And I don't know, it was almost like, it almost felt like a psychic kind of attack, if there is such a thing. And I believe there is, but I'm postulating that for all of you out there, because I don't know what you believe, but it was pretty horrible. And you can be just inches away from somebody and you might as well be, miles apart, because you can't do anything. And I remember, God, just trying to make a noise enough to maybe rouse the person that I was with, just to get them to maybe notice and turn over and help me or something. You're stuck. And it's a horrifying feeling, but it was one that I had to learn how to figure out what to do, because I was dealing with it for a long, long time. And it wasn't every night. It maybe not even once, not even every week, but it was very often, and it was horrible. And you never knew which night it was going to be, but it was just this horrible experience. And it wasn't until I learned how to break out of it. And all I can tell you is what I was able to figure out in that situation. If there's anybody out there dealing with sleep paralysis, this may or may not help you, but it's what I did to work through it. And it was, I just had to get something to move a little bit, and basically it would be like just a pinky, just could make a pinky twitch, like you're focusing with all of your might. It's like your pinky might weigh as much as a Buick or something. I mean, it's just horribly hard to move anything. But if you can get something to move, and then you just grab onto that and just keep it moving, and then make it spread, so you're getting your whole pinky instead of just the tip, and then you can get the next finger, and you just got to keep expanding it, and you just learn how to fight through it. And then after a point when you can move your hands and get your eyes awake and keep them all open, then I could force myself to sit up. Now, I made the mistake many times of just going, okay, that was weird, and trying to fall back asleep, and boom, being locked back down. And it was horrible. So I learned that I actually had to get up and go to a different room, walk around, and just get that energy to dissipate, because it was so strange. Now, I can't say for sure that I was under some kind of attack, but it sure felt like it. It sure felt like it. It's like I don't know why. I don't know what it was all about, but it was horrid. And I did get to the point where even if I was sleeping, I would feel that sensation starting, and I could push it away before it actually happened. And then after that, it just quit happening, which was great, because it was horrendous. It was just horrendous. But I don't know if any of you have experienced that. If you have, my heart goes out to you, because it's horrible. It's absolutely horrible. But a lot of people do experience it, and it's hard to understand. But I think that there is ways to work through it. It's just, you got to figure out what works for you. I don't know. Just my 2 cents. You get a lot of that around here. If you're new to the show, you'll learn you get a lot of that on the Paranormal Portal. A lot of my opinion and 2 cents. All right, let's see. All right, let's see how long these stories are. I'm just pulling open another batch of stories, but we just have several minutes left here, so I don't want to get too overboard, but I got 3 more stories for you guys. So 3 more stories. If you will indulge me, I will keep you for 3 more stories. The first story is coming from Texas, and this has to do with miscellaneous. So it's a lot of different activity, generally, these stories are. So it says, still tired from this one and need to write down the details to help get it out of my head. For most of the month, my wife has been feeling depressed. It started as just her being extremely tired, but it got worse as April progressed. Neither of us could figure out what was wrong, so on Friday night, as I said my prayers, I asked for guidance on this matter. And I woke Saturday feeling that I knew what needed to be done. After attending services at my church, asking for strength and the power to help my wife, I prepared myself mentally and went in, and in parentheses, astral projecting / dream walking, call it what you will. Starting at about 23:30 or 11 p.m., I was met with a gray fog surrounding my wife's spirit. I met the resistance of spirits calling upon my knowledge and strength. I began to expel or exorcise / kick them out. The first one was a human spirit, gray in color, glowing gray, if that makes any sense. Male, bald-headed, looked to be about 200 years old. With all the wrinkles on his features, he was covered in a flowing gray robe that hung loosely on his body. There were two more like him, and then I was through the fog and was able to approach her spirit, and I encountered a fourth spirit, this one non-human, and though in human form, it was a woman, same gray glow, wearing the same type of flowing robes as the other three, but she was stronger with fingernails like long claws and sharp pointed teeth. I called upon my faith, picturing a globe of white light surrounding her, and pushed it away, sending it towards the light. Once she was banished, I continued my search, and I found a fifth spirit. This one non-human as well, pictured an old hag, long stringy hair, hands like claws, again wearing the flowing loose gray robe that the others had been. I can't find the words to truly describe her face. I felt she represented despair, anguish, feeding of a person's innermost fears and causing one to dwell on all the negative things and pushing all good things away. Again, I pictured a globe of white light surrounding this entity, but the bond between it and my wife was strong. Long story short, it was done, with much help from my faith in the Heavenly Father and Son, Jesus Christ, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. My wife works 2300 through 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. Sunday nights, and when I picked her up this morning, she told me that for the first time all month, she felt better. I, on the other hand, felt and still feel like I didn't sleep at all, but I'm happy I could help her feel better. Has anyone else experienced something like this? Wow, that's an incredible story. Certainly spiritual oppression. Now, we always hear about demonic possession, but there's oppression. There's the demonic oppression that occurs before a demon has actually taken over the person or infiltrated them in a sense, like they just oppress them with darkness and stuff. Now, demons, of course, do that, but so do spirits. So do dark spirits that are somehow bent on, trying to glean energy from the living. And so they can use an oppression as well. And what I was getting from that story is that was some kind of spiritual oppression from several different entities. I do believe in astral projecting. I've never done it myself. I've had lucid dreams, but I've never astrally projected that I know of. I don't know how much difference there is between astral projecting and having extremely lucid dreams, but maybe they're very closely related. Again, I'm no expert on that, but I do believe that we have the ability to do that. And I believe that we are truly multidimensional entities. We are. We just are so locked in this three-dimensional manifestation of ourselves that we've forgotten about our other parts of our manifestation that we can control. But things like meditation and practicing astral projection can help to rekindle that. I really believe that we exist multidimensionally. And when you astrally project, you're just charging your entire focus into this part of your astral form. And you can project that out. I'm sure that you could probably do battle with things like this if you had to or were capable of it. I don't know if I am or not. I just don't know. But I do believe in this kind of stuff. I think that, negative entities, negative energies, negative spirits, whatever you want to call them, they do prey upon us, and they do latch onto us and attach to us. This could just be spiritual attachments with just negative energies. It could be that they were preying actively on her. I don't know. Any or both, it's hard to know. But very cool story. All right, the next one is, that's an interesting name. It's coming from Colorado and has to do with a haunted life. Hold on. I got to get through the fluffy stuff. Little brief bit of history here. First of all, I just went through a rather tough time in my life, and I'm only just now beginning to cope with it. I'll only say it's affected me greatly. The other night I experienced something that has affected me, effectively given me a whole new look on the supernatural. It is highly connected to my prior experiences and is beginning to give me insight to the fact that I may, in fact, be visiting my own out-of-body spirit, which is tougher to explain than it is for me to understand. It hit me like a speeding train, this sudden feeling like I was being pushed. Not necessarily pushed, but something was holding me in place and influencing my movement. I saw the all too familiar silhouettes of Jerry and Miguel in the background. I think that's some kind of spirits that this person's familiar with. And all the while heard this pulsating ringing, which just increased in volume. My breathing became shallow and I was sweating profusely. And my vision got all obscured, and I don't know how else to describe it other than to say I felt like I was being possessed. Somehow this dark spirit of mine seems to have been trying to take over my body, which is understandable. I was in a volatile state and became more susceptible to Jerry's interference. I could see Jerry and Miguel closing in on me, and I kept muttering, "Stop, just stop." But I couldn't speak above a low whisper. My every movement was restrained and tough to make. Even talking became a chore. I don't remember much after that. I just sort of blacked out eventually, and when I came to, the room was dark and I was breathing very heavily, like trying to catch up, as I couldn't breathe at all before. Very unsettling experience, and it has me a little on edge. I've never quite had that happen before, not like that. Not to where I feel literally threatened. But that's exactly how I felt at the time. That's terrible. Not sure what Jerry and Miguel were up to, but sound like a couple of jerks. Just saying. All right, this one's coming from Utah. And this will be the last one for tonight, ladies and gentlemen. This is, let me start with the history of my house. I've lived in it all my life, and I'm 19 right now. My parents bought the house when it was new and still being built. So it has passed for past owners hiding. I don't even know what this sentence means. It says, so has for past owners hiding secrets. I can safely say it isn't an issue. Okay, so I guess it's a brand new house. There's no former history to it. Okay. I was about 8 years old. I can't remember the exact month or date, but I can say it wasn't a school night because I was up late playing video games and wasn't trying to be silent so that I wouldn't get in trouble. My bedroom door was open, although I usually have it closed. I find when I open the door, more cool air comes in, so I was really into my game when for some reason I felt like I was being watched. I paused and looked towards my door where I saw a white-figured face peeking around the corner, like my mom does when she's checking on me. That is so creepy. Just imagine looking over and seeing a little white face just leaning out. Ugh, that's not a good look. So I just assumed it was my mom. My hair was poofy and short, the hair was poofy and short, and the face looked female. But after about 2 or 3 seconds, it disappeared. I jumped up out of my banana chair to chase my mom. My parents' room is across the living room and on the other side of the house, so when I got out of my room and didn't see her walk into her room, I was a little confused, but went in there to talk to her anyway. And when I was walking into the room, my mom was asleep. And I hate waking up my parents, and I never have unless something big has happened. I went back to my room, played my game, and fell asleep shortly after. In the morning, I asked my mom why she checked on me, and she didn't checked on me. She didn't say something to me. She told me she didn't check on me last night and gave me a confused look. I told her my story. She grabbed a picture of my great-grandma and asked me if it looked like her, and honestly, I couldn't tell if it did or not. The hair was close to the same, but I wasn't sure. She explained how when my older brother was born, he's 3 years older than me, that my great-grandma was already dead, but she prayed for her to watch over him. At the age of 2, he was talking to her. He said at the age of 2, he was talking to what seemed to be an imaginary friend, but he would call it grandma and say things that seemed to relate to her. She said when he turned 3, it almost ended immediately. And she remembers him crying and saying, "Goodbye, Grandma." And he never talked like that again. I asked if I ever talked to anyone, and she told me no. Since then, I rarely am in my room with my door open. When I get hot now, I just open my window, but I've always wondered if that was my great-grandmother, why did she talk to my brother until the age of 3, but never contact me, and for all I know, until the age of 8? That's a weird story. I don't know. It's hard to know how come some perceive it and some don't. I guess I would probably chalk that up to just people have different stages of ability. Some people are able to, have more awareness for spirituality. Others don't. And who knows why? It's just kind of the luck of the draw, it seems sometimes. But anyway, folks, that's all I got for you. There's still a few of you here. Good to see you guys. Thank you so much for being a part of the show and being a part of our Night Terrors episodes. I hope you've enjoyed them for what they are. They are a different kind of show. But I'll be back tomorrow night with the Friday show, and we'll have lots of paranormal goodness for you then. 2 hours tomorrow night. So if you're around and you're not busy, stop in 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time right here on YouTube, as well as TFR Live, iHeart, and TuneIn and TalkStream Live. So hope to see you there, and keep watching for the podcast. If you're not already a podcast listener, please check them out. Our podcasts are on Pandora, Spotify, iHeart, iTunes, Stitcher, CastBox, Google Play, and dozens of other ones, just dozens of other platforms. So there's a lot of Paranormal Portal out there if you look for it. Just do a search. If you're on Spotify or one of those other applications, just search for the Paranormal Portal. And check out our podcasts. If you're a listener on Stitcher, iTunes, or any platform that allows you to give give reviews, give us a nice review. We'd really appreciate it if you enjoy the shows. It means a lot. It helps us out a ton. So anyway, that's all I got for you. I hope you guys have a wonderful night. Have a fantastic Friday tomorrow. Check out the links in the description if you want to help support the show. It means a lot. It helps us out a ton. This is a labor of love, of course, so everything you can do helps a bunch. But if all you can do is just let people know about the show and give the thumbs ups when you're here, that is amazing. And that does a lot for us, a ton. So those are all ways to contribute. So no one is greater than the other. It's just whatever you're able to do. I really appreciate it. So thank you all for being a part of my journey and part of my life. And I'll be back tomorrow night with the Friday show, and then Don will be with me on Saturday. So lots going on here on the portal. But anyway, love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other. Help each other out. Find the magic in every day, and remember to laugh as much as you can. Good night, everybody, and I'll see you tomorrow night. Sweet dreams.